Hey everyone, it's the Philosopher here. I hope you're all doing well. After watching the live debate on CNN between Bernie Sanders and Count Dracula, I had to make a video deconstructing the ridiculously fallacious things that were said by Bernie Sanders.
Well, the truth is that the Republicans are now in a panic because the American people have caught on that the absolute repeal of Obamacare without a plan to make it better would be an absolute disaster.
Now, notice how he says the American people, as if all Americans think this way. Another thing he does is he opens it by saying the Republicans are in a panic and that the American people have caught on. By saying the words panic and that people have caught on, it insinuates that the Republicans who want to repeal Obamacare are somehow doing something devious and sinister. It's a very sophisticated tactic and it's very manipulative.
So when Ted talks about giving people choice, here's your choice. You got cancer and you go to the doctor and the insurance company says, we're not going to cover it. We can't make money on you because you have cancer. You have a pre-existing condition. And here's another choice you can have if we get rid of Obamacare. If you have diabetes and you're spending a whole lot on health insurance, the insurance companies will say, sorry, we're only going to spend X dollars because we got to make money off you. That's the function of private insurance.
Wow, okay, there is a lot to deconstruct just in those two sentences. It's so loaded what he's saying. First of all, let's be clear that when Bernie Sanders says that repealing Obamacare would be a disaster, he's focused solely on those with pre-existing conditions. So what about all the people whose health insurance premiums went up because of Obamacare? And what about all the people who can't even afford health insurance, but they make too much money so they don't even qualify for Obamacare and now have to pay a tax penalty as a result? What about those people? What if they actually stand to benefit from Obamacare being repealed? No, they don't matter? Oh, I see. Only people who can push his political agenda matter. Ted Cruz brought up the same questions I did. What about those people? But Bernie's response was to divert the focus back to people with cancer.
It's easy to say to people, gosh, you're going to lose your coverage. What do the Democrats say to the 6 million people who had their health insurance canceled?
Ted, you're a good lawyer and you use words well.
Thank you.
What you just said is cancel your insurance. Cancel your insurance, okay? That's good. But what happens if tomorrow you wake up and you go to the doctor and you discover that you have cancer?
Then he throws an insult at people who want to repeal government mandates. Like it's so bad to want government to stop using violence and interfering in people's lives.
So I think when people like Ted talk about repealing Obamacare, repealing government mandates, this is a government mandate, and it is a damn good mandate and a humane mandate.
Looks like Bernie Sanders knows, like any good politician, that using morals is a great way to keep people under control. You can keep people under control if you make them believe that what you're doing to them is good and moral and just. There's nothing about using government to threaten violence against people to get them to provide a service to someone that they don't want to. Even if those people are those evil people in insurance companies. There's nothing good about forcing people to do something that they don't want to.
Ted, let's work together on a Medicare for all single-payer program. So we're finally going to get insurance companies, private insurance companies, out of our lives.
So Bernie Sanders wants to get insurance companies out of your life, as if insurance companies are in my life right now and taxing me and initiating force on me. Oh yeah, he wants to get insurance companies out of our lives and put government directly in your life, even more than it already is. So ironic and ridiculous. As I watch the debate more, I just start thinking of him as some crazy old guy. I guess that really is what he is. Some crazy, sophistic old guy who wants to buy a fourth house. Bernie Sanders, like all communists and socialists, believe in this false dichotomy that only companies can be evil and anyone who works in the government is benevolent. They don't believe it's possible for people in the government to want to line their own pockets. At least in the free market, people could vote with their wallets. If there was a corrupt insurance company, they could move insurance companies or start their own. That is the beauty of free market and competition. It drives down costs because people are trying to get people to join their insurance companies, not by force, just through persuasion, just by saying, hey, I will give you X amount in insurance policies if you pay me this and it's less than this competitor. Does the government do that? No. Government forces you to fund whatever it wants. If there are corrupt people in the government, which there are and have been, what can you do? Oh, you just have to vote for the right person to come on in. You can't vote with your dollars. You can't say, hey, I don't want to pay for this. You have to pay for it whether you like it or not. Whatever government says you have to do, you must do it, or else you'd be thrown in jail or threatened with death. That is the difference between the government and the free market.
I want patients, all of us, to be in charge of our health care, not government deciding what health care we get.
Government deciding. No, government doesn't decide in Canada or any place else.
This is just demonstrably false. In Canada, the government does decide what healthcare people get. They raise taxes, and it's the government bureaucrats who get to decide what treatments are covered and what aren't with these taxes. This is rationing. Government-run healthcare is no different than private insurance companies. Except with private insurance companies, you have a choice. With government-run healthcare, you have no choice. If the treatment you need is not in the list of treatments that the government bureaucrats have decided on, that your tax dollars fund, then too bad. It doesn't matter that you were taxed against your will. It doesn't matter that you don't get the treatment that you need. This is why people flee countries with socialized healthcare. Socialize anything, really, because they crave freedom and they crave choice.
I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. I own 5 fantastic Sam's hair salons. We employ between 45 and 48 employees. My original plan was to open more salons and employ more people. However, under Obamacare, I am restricted because it requires me to furnish health insurance if I employ more than 50 people. Unfortunately, the profit margin in my industry is very thin, and I'm not a wealthy person, so it's impossible for me to grow my business. My question to you, Senator Sanders, is how do I grow my business? How do I employ more Americans without either raising the prices to my customers or lowering wages to my employees?
Ooh, what a question. I'm surprised that CNN let her speak. When you bring up things like return on investment, profit margins, keeping prices low for your customers, and keeping wages competitive for your employees, it just goes over the head of a socialist or communist. All they're going to focus on is the fact that you're not paying your employees enough and that you should provide them health care, and you're really selfish for not doing so.
Let me give you an answer you will not be happy with. And that is, I think that for businesses that employ 50 people or more, I think that in America today, everybody should have health care. And if you have more than 50 people, you know what? I'm afraid to tell you, but I think you will have to provide health insurance.
So my question
Completely ignores her questions and the concerns she brings up and focuses solely on the fact that she's not providing health care to her employees. Demonizes her for not doing so, even though he does so in a very subtle way. You can tell LaRonda was pissed, based on the fact that she cut Bernie off at the end.
So my question is, how do I do that without raising my prices to my customers or lowering wages to my employees?
You see, the difficulty is also, my guess is one of the problems that we have is there may be somebody else in Fort Worth who is providing decent health insurance to their employees. And they are in an unfair competitive situation regarding you. You can compete and maybe charge lower prices, get business, while they, on the other hand, may be providing decent health insurance.
I think you'll find the profit margin in my entire industry about the same.
Certainly don't.
It's really just infuriating to watch, and it's also out of empathy for her as well. She's struggling. She wants to expand. She wants to hire new people, but she can't, because if she did, she would go under. Anyway, this conversation transitions nicely into the last major highlight of the debate, which is healthcare a right? Communists, socialists, they all believe that healthcare is a right. They believe that food is a right. They also believe that education is a right. They pretty much believe everything is a right. Anything that needs to be paid for is a right. Bernie Sanders asked Ted Cruz if he thinks that healthcare is a human right. And I thought Ted Cruz's answer was a really good response to his loaded question.
Ted, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Is every American entitled, and I underlined that word, to health care as a right of being an American? Yes or no?
You know, I'm glad you asked that. You know, right is a word you use a lot. Let's
Yep.
talk about what rights are. Rights mean you have a right for government not to mess with you, for government not to do things with you. If you look at the Bill of Rights, the Bill of Rights, free speech means the government can't silence you when you're speaking. Religious liberty means the government can't control who you worship, what your faith is. The Second Amendment means the government can't take away your guns. Those are rights. You know what the Declaration of Independence said? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So what is a right? Is access to health care. What is a right is choosing your own doctor. And if you believe health care is a right, why on earth did you help write Obamacare that caused 6 million people to have their health insurance canceled, that had them lose their doctors, and have people like LaRonda who can't get health insurance, can't afford premiums? You're denying her what you say is her right.
Well, two things. You didn't answer the question, although I interpret your question to be that LaRonda does not have a right.
No, that's not what I said. What I said is access to health care.
I got the Bill of Rights.
Health care is a right.
She has access. But you don't have enough
choosing
money.
your doctor
Look,
is a right.
LaRonda, you have access right now. Go out and get a really great health insurance program. Oh, you can't do it because you can't afford it. All right? That's what he's saying. Access to what? You want to buy one of Donald Trump's mansions? You have access to do that as well. Oh, you can't afford $5 million for a house? Sorry. Access doesn't mean a damn thing.
Wow, what a straw man, completely twisting what Ted Cruz said. And also notice how Bernie Sanders just starts yelling when Ted Cruz says that's not what he said. This is a tactic of sophists. This is a tactic of people without arguments who are dysfunctional, who don't have honesty, who don't have integrity. They will double down and they will use violence and yell at you in order to intimidate the opposition and get you to stop talking. This is why I believe that out of our fellow slaves, the ones who do not listen to reason and evidence, the ones who have an ends justifies the means mentality, which is most leftists and most SJWs, are the greatest threat to our liberty at this time. Anyone who thinks violence is okay to achieve their ends is a threat to my liberty. These are the people who will cheer as the state grows in size and power, carrying out their agenda. When the government does not have their agenda, or when someone gets into power that doesn't have their agenda, they freak out and they destroy private property, they hurt innocent people. These people are not my friend. These people are a threat to my liberty and my safety. Anyway, I could go on. I hope this was enjoyable to you. Thank you for all the people who've been supporting me since I started my Facebook page and channel a few months ago. And I will see you guys all later. Take care.
Yes, freeze!